Thank you. If you think that counts for your exercise for today, it doesn't. Dean Montgomery, members of the faculty, family, friends, graduates, the to-be-announced award winners, the student leaders, and again, the graduates. It really is my honor to be with you this morning, and I want to start by saying congratulations. Last weekend, on Mother's Day, I was at the University of Kansas when our younger son received his master's degree. So I know something about the hard work that all of you have been doing and the effort that got you here today. And I also have long and strong ties to this school. I married a Georgetown law grad. I'm a Hoya mom, the mother of a double Georgetown graduate. So in my family, Hoya Saxa comes second only to Rock Chalk Jayhawk. And I was really delighted to be invited to speak to you, the public policy graduates. Having spent my entire life in public service, I've spent my entire life in public service. And what I know is that you've chosen the most challenging, frustrating, exciting, consequential, and rewarding career there is. And today I want to just share a few lessons that I learned along the way, and hopefully they'll be useful as you begin your careers. I started out as an unpaid volunteer. My dad got into politics when I was 5. So for most of my childhood, I spent days in the fall putting up yard signs and going door to door. Actually, the more accurate term might be forced labor. There wasn't a lot of choice in that matter. It was only later that I discovered that lots of families were going to football games and picnics while I was attending political rallies. But what I got from those fall outings and from our conversations around the dinner table was a deep belief in the value of public service. And throughout my career, that unwavering belief has carried me to my highest point and gotten me through my lowest. I know you graduates share that belief. If you didn't, you wouldn't be here today. You wouldn't have suffered through regression analysis. You wouldn't have passed up bigger salaries in other fields. So my first hope for you today is that you hold on to that commitment to work for the common good. And if you let that focus guide you, you'll never go off course. Now, I learned the second lesson when I came to Washington in the late 60s to attend Trinity College. Those were tumultuous days in our nation's history, and D.C. was right in the middle of it. During my college years, the draft was reinstated, and the government was ramping up the war in Vietnam. Racial tensions throughout this country that had been smoldering erupted after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., and I watched neighborhoods in D.C., including those close to my college, be burned to the ground. What was striking at that time is how young people were driving that national debate. We had a feeling that not just young people could change the world, but that we had to change the world. Robert Kennedy used to talk about young people in his speeches, and one of the most famous he made to young South African leaders, and he said, "The world demands the qualities of youth, not a time in life, but a state of mind, a temper of will, a quality of the imagination, a predominance of courage over timidity, of the appetite for adventure over the life of ease." Now, as you set about your careers, you may find yourself tempted to defer to those who are older or have more experience. And I want to make it clear, on behalf of the parents in the audience, Even though we may not know who Snooki is or why everyone's so angry about her, we do have some wisdom to share. You still need to call your moms. Yes. In fact, after the ceremony ends, I hope you all spend a little time thanking your parents, your teachers, your mentors, your friends, your supporters who helped you on this journey to this graduation day. But the truth is, wisdom isn't the only thing that comes with age. Growing older can also bring complacency and cautiousness. Now, I know Georgetown hasn't trained you to be on the sidelines. You've studied under leading policymakers. You've proven your skills not just on tests and papers, but through real-world programs like Project Honduras. So my second piece of advice is don't wait. Go ahead and do it yourself, because if you don't, it might never happen. Now, I wish I had a clear roadmap of exactly how to do that. But the truth is, career paths are usually only visible looking backwards, like the tracks we make in the snow. I'm a feminist who learned that girls can do anything by attending all-girls schools where we had to do everything. I ended up in Kansas because that's where my husband grew up. I began my political career because our part-time legislature was a better fit for me as a mother with then 2 young children than the 60-hour-a-week job I had. I moved along, I sought out opportunities to learn new skills and new subject areas. I started working in corrections. And later I worked on everything from education to children and family issues to the budget to jobs and economic development to rural challenges. But one of the issues that kept coming back was health care, culminating in my current position. And now I have the extraordinary opportunity to help implement historic legislation that's finally, after 7 decades of failed debate in the United States, ensuring that all Americans have access to affordable health coverage. Now, I would have never been here today if I hadn't taken some chances. And for me, what stands out is a big risk, which was my run for a statewide office in Kansas of insurance commissioner. Now, the indicators weren't promising. The statewide office had never in the history of the state been held by a woman or a Democrat. The 3 previous commissioners had close ties to the insurance industry and had served a combined 50 years. It was 1994. When running for office as a Democrat was the basic equivalent of wearing a Georgetown jersey in the Syracuse section at the Verizon Center. But I went for it and I won. And I ended up not only getting an incredible opportunity to make a difference, but also gaining probably the most invaluable experience for the job I have now. Who knew? All of you are going to face similar choices in your careers. It might be taking a more senior position at a much smaller organization. It might be doing the work you do so well, but moving abroad to do it. It might be going from running a campaign to becoming a candidate. And when you do encounter those opportunities, I encourage you to take a deep breath and seize them. And don't let your critics or your opponents define who you are or what you do or why you do it. Believe in yourself and your abilities, and don't be afraid to express those beliefs. That brings me to the final lesson I want to leave with you today, which is no matter what path you choose, and you've heard Dean Montgomery already say this, it's going to be hard. Ultimately, public policy is about making difficult choices. And today there are very serious debates underway about the direction of our country. Debates about the size and role of government, about America's role as a global economic and military leader, about the moral and economic imperative of providing health care to all our citizens. People have deeply held beliefs on all sides of these discussions, and you, as public policy leaders, will be called on to help move these debates forward. These aren't questions with quick or easy answers. When I was in junior high, John Fitzgerald Kennedy was running for president. I wasn't old enough to vote, but it's really the first national campaign I really remember. Some of then Senator Kennedy's opponents attacked him for his religion, suggesting that electing the first Catholic president would undermine the separation of church and state, a fundamental principle in our unique democracy. Now, the furor over the course of the campaign grew so loud that Senator Kennedy chose to deliver a speech about his beliefs just 7 weeks before that November election. In his talk to Protestant ministers, Kennedy talked about his vision of religion and the public square. And he said he believed in an America, and I quote, where no religious body seeks to impose its will directly or indirectly upon the general populace or the public acts of its officials, and where religious liberty is so indivisible that an act against one church is treated as an act against us all. Senator Kennedy was elected President of the United States on November 8, 1960. And here we are more than 50 years later. And that conversation about the intersection of our nation's long tradition of religious freedom with policy decisions in the public square continues. Contributing to these debates will require more than the quantitative skills you've learned at Georgetown. It requires the ethical skills you have honed, the ability to weigh different views, to see issues from others' points of view, and in the end, to be true to your own moral compass. These debates can also be contentious, but that's a strength of our country, not a weakness. In some countries around the world, it's much easier to make public policy. A leader delivers an edict, it goes into effect. There's no debate, no press, no criticism, no second guessing. Our system is messier, slower, more frustrating, and far better. And it almost always ends in compromise. The conversations can be painful, but it's through this process of conversation and compromise that we actually move forward together, step by step, toward that more perfect union. Now, looking out on all of you this morning, I feel very optimistic about the future of that union. If you hold on to your idealism, resist complacency, take chances, and engage thoughtfully with difficult challenges of our time, you'll succeed. And through you, we will succeed. I can't wait to see what you can accomplish. Congratulations again, and best of luck.